Good afternoon, real estate investors. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope everyone's enjoying. I'm not sure if everyone is in sunny Milwaukee like we are, but it's certainly nice to see the sun shining, 75 degrees, and some nice weather. Hopefully you guys are getting out to play some golf or whatever else it might be. We got a bunch of people joining us right now. We're about to get started. We have a quick note. Unfortunately, I know many of you are friends with Rebecca Knox, and unfortunately, Rebecca's dog somehow jumped out of their house, out of their fence, and some scrupulous, heartless person decided to pick up the dog and stole their dog. And so Rebecca's not here today. And so if you see her dog or if you follow her on Facebook, my only statement to you is please post one of her flyers in an effort to help find her dog. We would appreciate it. She would appreciate it. I know they're heartbroken. And so thank you for that. We do have Tonny Romero, who picked up the mic on the last minute. Tony, thanks for being here. And Tony's a wholesaler in Milwaukee and other markets. And Tony just got back from, I think, a little stint with some clubhouse folks down in Texas. And we're going to get to chat with Tony here in a little bit. And so thanks for all being here. I see one of my friends on the line, Mr. Mike Malatesta, who has a great podcast called How Did It Happen? I think that's what it is. Look him up, though. It's a phenomenal podcast that focuses on a bunch of entrepreneurs and successful folks in the area. Mike, if you could drop it into the note section, if you wouldn't mind, please. I'd love to have people check out that podcast when you have a minute, because I've watched a lot of people I didn't know about. I heard their backgrounds and all of this amazing stuff. And it's awesome. So Mike, thanks for being here and thanks for having me on your podcast. And everybody check out his podcast because it is awesome. So guys, let's get started. My name is Scott. I am with F Street Group in Milwaukee Hard Money. I've got joined today by Sarah Floyd, our Vice President of Lending. And we have Tonny Romero, who is the founder of Proper Worth Home Investors. So thanks for being here. I also have Mike Doney, who's sitting off to the side. He's our Vice President of Marketing, and he's the one that somehow makes these all happen. So super excited to be here with you. You know, what we get asked every day is, how do I find a deal, right? Everybody said, it's like, well, how do I get the golden ticket? How do I find a deal? How do I become a millionaire? You get those basic questions, but everyone asks us, how do I find a deal, right? Where are the good deals? How do I find them? And we get that question so often. We felt it was important today to really focus on, how do you find deals, guys? How do we find deals? The one thing that I can tell you before we dive into our presentation is a little bit about why I do this, right? I got started in real estate in 2003. I own not a single piece of real estate. I only tell this to you because I want you to be motivated to understand that you sitting behind your computer or your desk or in your job or wherever you are today joining us today, you can do it. Okay. You can be a real estate investor 100%. You can do what I've done, which is build up 1,500 units of multifamily, have 1 million square feet of industrial. We are building apartments in Brown Deer and Oak Creek and Pleasant Prairie and La Crosse. And we've got so much exciting stuff happening over here. And I just share this with you because you can do it. And the resource that we're providing today is free. It's 100% free. It's for you. We don't do this for us. We do this for you. This is not marketing for anything other than to motivate you to understand that you can do this, and you have to be self-sufficient and self-starter to be in the real estate business. The real estate business is full of a lot of people. There are a lot of real estate investors. There's very few of them that are very successful. Be very successful. Don't waste your time being mediocre. So Mike, let's move to the next slide. Just if we can jump into this for a minute. So one of the questions we get all the time is, where do you find leads, right? And so everybody understands what MLS is, right? So MLS is an acronym because in real estate, everything's an acronym, but an acronym for multiple listing service, right? So the multiple listing service is that it's basically a system, if you can understand it, where every listing has to go through, if you convey, through a broker. And so the Wisconsin Realtors Association and the Realtors Lobby Associations across the country have all of these multiple listing services. Quite frankly, it's done to protect the commission structure, but it's the best data points you can ever get, right? The data that's in MLS is 100% accurate, okay? And it's valuable. So everybody has MLS access. If you're a realtor, if you're a broker, you subscribe to MLS, and your realtors underneath you get to have access to MLS. So myself, as a real estate investor, I use Sarah, who is a broker, to provide me with listings, MLS, as an investor, to go find opportunities, right? So where do you find opportunities on MLS, right? So how many people look at MLS and say, God, it's so competitive, right? I'm already hearing the tears, right?
Every day.
Every day. It's so competitive. Right. The world is competitive. Imagine LeBron James saying, hey, the NBA is so competitive. It's like, no kidding, guys. That's why it's the NBA. MLS is so competitive. No kidding. It's a free service at the end of the day. The realtors pay for it, the brokers pay for it, but at the end of the day, it is truly a free service. It's a data site for us. And so when you get into MLS, people ask me, how do I find deals on MLS? Let me give you a few of our tips, right? So if you look at MLS, how many people understand what DOM means, right? Not many. How many people have even looked up DOM? Well, DOM means days on market. Okay, so if you look at MLS, you search for MLS and you look under days on market, you can determine that how long a property's on the market. So where do you think the motivation lies for a seller? The more days on market, the maybe the parallel is the more motivated the seller might be to sell the property, right? If a property's on the market one day, do you think he's willing to take a 30% haircut on the list price? 40%? No. If the property's been on the market for 300 days or 180 days, yes, somebody might say, hey, I'm interested in an offer. I want to unload this property. So these are little tips. These are not ways you're going to for sure get properties, but these are little tips for you to think about. So the other thing to remember, and what you see sometimes, is you see a listing that will go and then expire and then come back on the market. So you always have to look on days on market, or you have to look at price change to determine what's actually happening with the property, right?
You can actually take it a step further and see the history. So even if it appears that the listing is a new listing, if you look at the history, they might have just relisted it to be a fresh listing. It might have been a lot longer on the market.
So what Sarah's saying, just so we understand, is that a new listing might come on the market today, which we're going to talk about under search words and hot sheets in a minute. But days on market or a new listing, if you go under the history button, which, yes, I know, I'm sorry, you're going to have to make one more click, right? You're going to make that last click. You're going to see the history that the property might be on the market already 3 different times with 3 different listings in the past year, right? What's going on? They might have changed realtors. A realtor might have sold them on, hey, I'm a better realtor than your previous realtor. Let me sell your house for you. And so that would become a new listing, but the history of the property is not a new listing. And so days on market is an important thing. When I was sending out 10,000 letters a month, I was always searching days on market. Always. It was such an important piece to what I was looking for, was why is this house not selling? Right? And sometimes you don't know until you get into it, or you call the person. So look at days on market. It's very, very important to what you're doing. The next listing, which we kind of talked about a little bit on days on market, focuses on expired listings, right? So what is an expired listing? So you can search in MLS for listings that are expired. So have you ever, and this is to the real estate investors out there that own a property, have you ever listed a property, expired it, and then your phone started ringing from all the other realtors out there? I have. Okay. Because a realtor is finding an expired listing that did not sell, right? Listing did not sell. And they're saying, I can make the widget a better widget. I can do this a little bit better than the previous guy, right? Well, or woman. And so the reason I say that is, well, you as an investor could call them and say, listen, you've tried listing it on MLS. You've exposed it to the public market. Your house isn't selling. I'll buy it. But in exchange for me buying it, you're going to give me a better purchase price and I'm going to close. And it's a win-win solution, right? And so we're going to talk to Tony a little bit about win-win solutions in a minute on how Tony focuses on wholesaling and how he gets his deals. And we'll talk about that not as a point of sharing all of his trade secrets, but to explain to him that there is a script. And if you go online, you'll find them. There are scripts for wholesalers focused on days on market. There are scripts for wholesalers figuring out on days on expired listings, right? You have a listing that isn't selling. Let me tell you two things about the person who is selling the house. A, they want to sell it because it's on the market, right? So you have a motivated seller. We know that, right? We know we have a motivated seller. And we know that it's expired. We also have a frustrated seller. So the motivation is amped up, right? That is, you hear it, the music to your ears? That's like the sauce, you know what I mean? We're kind of getting there. And so focus.
And the seller might be willing to give that discount too, because then you're not paying the commission.
Yes, sometimes you're not paying the commission. Sometimes you're paying the commission. Sometimes, who knows? The commission is a piece of it. What they want to get at the end of the day is they want to sell their problem, right? They have gone so far as to take their problem and put it on the market. They've already gone through 10 showings, right? I've had 10 showings. I've got no offers. Why? It happens, right? If you go back to the years when there was a glut of foreclosures in the market, right? Properties would sit on the market for a long time and banks were just stubborn, right? Until they could write down their debt on a particular asset and then they would sell it, right? And you just had to be that lucky guy or knew how to deal with the asset managers. So
that's why like there's critical days on the market changes even for in the bank world. Like at 90 days, they might have, it's like at this price, at this point, we're ready to do a drop. So if you could get in to make the offer, like right before they're going to drop, you know, that.
Yeah. And so, and these are all dealing with banking right down. As we know right now, a lot of the foreclosures that we have out there are moving relatively quickly, but it does happen, guys. And so I've been investing since 2003. The cycle that you see, right? I've seen the really competitive cycle. It's always competitive. So I don't even know what that means. I've seen the big boom in foreclosures. Okay, that's great. I've seen the glut of the marketplace. I've seen the buyer's market, the seller's market. Right now, you know, if you go to I was at one of the local bars and I heard there was a group of 10 people there. And one of them said, yeah, you're buying a house. Yeah, I'm over listening to this conversation with a little chuckle on my face. You're buying a house. Just ask just offer $20,000 more. I'm like, okay, seems like a random good idea. No problem. So something to look at. Okay. Now MLS, if we remember what I said when we first got started, MLS is a data source, right? So MLS, like Google, although it's behind a wall, is a data source, right? So if you search, if you have your realtor create a system for you that anytime the word REO shows up in the notes, and now there's two different note sections. So push your realtor, right? Sometimes you have to educate them, but push them to understand the following. There are private remarks, right? So those are from realtor to realtor. And then there's public remarks that will show up on the MLS listing for the population. So what you want to push is your realtor to search private remarks. And most likely those private remarks cannot be shared with you, but they can find them. And the public remarks might say REO. Does everyone know what REO means? I'm going to tell you because it's another acronym and I'm sure most of you do know it, but it's real estate owned. And so that's a very fancy acronym that banks use to determine real estate they own. Geniuses, I tell you. So we got it, right? Real estate owned, geniuses. We want to buy. So when banks own real estate, they're not in the business of owning real estate. So they want to sell it. So that's how REOs came about.
You can search motivated seller. They say in there.
Okay,
sometimes.
so sometimes you see motivated sellers. Anyone seen an MLS and it says motivated seller? That means I got a motivated seller and I'm a buyer. We got a match made in heaven, right? It's like Tinder for real estate, maybe. I don't know. Then we also see other words, right? Estate sales, fixer upper, probate, right? Does everyone know what probate is? So probate's the process when someone passes during the process of death where the estate is settled or is being settled through the probate process. And so once again, an important part of searching. And so if each of you who have chimed in here today are not set up with their realtor to receive MLS listings based on search words, I encourage you to do that immediately, right? Or make sure they're pulling the search words and sharing listings with you that meet these criteria, right? Someone who's selling an estate is somebody who's settling an estate not through probate. So you might have a trustee, you might have a family member. Okay, you know, what happens in our world every day is old people leave their homes, they go to either nursing homes or unfortunately pass away as a life cycle, and they have an asset. And so imagine how many times people find an asset. How many people live where their parents live? Some people, right? Some people don't. So some people live apart. So if my parents owned a house in Oklahoma and they unfortunately passed away and I needed to get rid of the house, my options are pretty limited, right? I'm going to call an investor. I'm going to put it on the market with a realtor, and all of those. And imagine that my parents, my mom probably went through this, my dad would, but imagine they were curmudgeons and they didn't want to touch their house and they wanted to kind of just hang out. They might have some repairs and the house might be deferred. And so this would be an opportunity for a real estate investor where it said probate or estate sale. And so make sure you're searching every word. It's not like you need to have a definition. Focus on that. And then Sarah, can you tell us a little bit about the hot sheet? So
it's a link on the
MLS.
Well,
hold on, before you get into that. So does everyone know what the hot sheet is? Okay, if you don't, so here it is. Ready? Go ahead. Let's hear it.
Well, realtors can set up their own hot sheet for properties that they want to view, like right when they come on the market. They can check the hot sheet and then it'll show you within the last 24 hours.
All of the new listings?
Yeah, it could be new listings. It could be back on the market listings.
Okay.
So you could set up the criteria, what you want to see in the hot sheet, because you could be bombarded if you did not set a criteria of every single new listing, like back on the market, expired. And so you might not want all that data. So you can sort it by your preferred either, price ranges, locations, things like that. And so it's good to be checking the hot sheet. And also if you are not a realtor and working with them, they can set up emails to you directly as the listing becomes immediately live. And so that you can have access to those right away, because if it's a good deal.
So Sarah, when a listing comes on the hot sheet and you're a real estate investor and the hot sheet gets sent to you and you wake up and you look at the hot sheet and then you go and look at a house and you're the first one there and the first one's offer and then you're ready to close, you have a better chance than everyone else.
Definitely.
And so this is once again the process. And so the hot sheet is a summary of the your newest daily opportunities.
We ourselves bought a property through MLS in the last, recently in Brookfield. Yep. And we were the first ones to make an offer right when it came on the market, and we're able to make a great deal and avoid the competition. They just were motivated and they accepted our offer right away. So you might get that. Yeah.
And so what I always tell our sellers or people that we're buying a house from, and I've been doing this since 2003, buying houses, right? I always say, you're going to exchange purchase price for time and convenience. Think about that. People are like, God, that's great. I don't have to be aggravated. I don't have to remove all the crap that's been in the house for the last. No, you don't have to do anything. You do nothing because I have the resources to clean out the house. I have the resources to close on the house. I have the resources to do everything. Oh, you have all the resources? Great. I don't want to do anything. No, but you're going to give me a better purchase price. So you're going to get less money in exchange for time and convenience. And
buying as is.
And buying as is. Absolutely. Mike, let's move to the next slide if you don't mind. Because I want to briefly touch on this next slide. Here's a couple other listing sites for you guys that could be available to you. Okay, so you should know these sites. You should be visiting these sites every day. You want deals, and if you're not visiting these sites, then don't say you haven't exhausted all of your opportunities. Right? HUD Home Store, Home Steps, Home Path, Auction.com. We call it Auction.com, but Auction.com, Hubzu, Home. There's hundreds of these houses, right? Zillow, Craigslist, for sale by owner. All of these properties.
For sale by owners.
For sale by owners is houses that are for sale by somebody who wants to sell them. They don't want to pay the commission, right? So think through this. But if you're not visiting these sites, I'm like, they don't need to write all this down. You're going to send this out to everybody, right?
And so one more thing to point out too on these foreclosure sites, a lot of them are they're like HUD Homes or Fannie or Freddie, and they might be listed with a realtor. So they might also be on MLS at the same time, but not all of those properties might not be listed and be available on their sites directly.
Yeah. And so sometimes they come to this site first, then go to MLS. Sometimes they've been on MLS, haven't been successful, although not today much. And then they go to these sites. So, I mean, there's opportunities. I can tell you that I bought a 112 unit apartment building on auction.com in Glendale, Wisconsin. And believe it or not, we paid $30,000 a door on a website, on auction.com. We bid and won on an amazing 112 unit apartment complex in Glendale, Wisconsin. And I do it every day. I look, I check, I seek opportunity. And if you're not doing that, then please don't let us know, or please don't have yourself your own pity party saying you can't find in-source deals. Let's go to the next page, Mike. Okay, this is an amazing opportunity. There are people that search court records, right? And so think about the opportunity for court records. The state of Wisconsin has an unbelievable site called CCAP, or the Wisconsin Circuit Court System, that we can search. So think about that. You can find out a lot of stuff about a lot of your people or friends or people you don't want to know about just from the internet. So let me give you a couple different opportunities here to think about. The Daily Reporter is a publication that is required for all court processes. And so the Daily Reporter is a paid service. Yep, you got to spend some money to make some money. Sorry to say it, but you can see in the Daily Reporter all pre-foreclosures, all sheriff sales, all judgments, all all civil actions, all in the Daily Reporter. If you do not have a subscription to the Daily Reporter, please go get one. It's critical to what you do. You will be a great real estate investor if you have the Daily Reporter. And so my point to say that to you, my point in saying that to you is make sure that you are subscribed to the Daily Reporter. The Daily Reporter tells you a pre-foreclosure action. How do you know it's a pre-foreclosure? Anybody? Chat? Talk to me? Bueller? Okay, let me tell you how you know if it's a pre-foreclosure. They're under the criminal action. So CV is civil action, CM is criminal, CF criminal felony, SC small claims. And so when you look at the various different cases, what you're going to find is a CV case, right? So if Bank of America has filed a lawsuit against John Doe, why is it doing that? That's really annoying. There you go. If Bank of America files a case against John Doe, a CV, you look up the case, you see CV equals foreclosure of mortgage, right? So look up the case so you can take the pre-foreclosure action that you got from the Daily Reporter. You go to the CCAP, you figure out the case. You know what you also find out? When their next court date is, what's going on with the property. You can find out so much information by just doing your homework. So what makes it a pre-foreclosure is that it's not foreclosed yet, it's in foreclosure. And so if that's important to you, that's important to us, right? A pre-foreclosure, it means you're just ahead of the game before it becomes a foreclosure, right? So think about that, okay? That is critical to what you end up doing and what you're doing. Does that make sense? Anyone have any questions for us while we're kind of cruising through this? Because I know everyone's time is valuable and I want to spend some time with Tony.
Well, plus as they're formulating questions, I want to point out there's other things you can find through court records besides pre-foreclosures and sheriff sales. I mean, there's eviction cases, and then you might have a frustrated landlord and they might be motivated to sell. There's like code violations.
Yeah, well, those are small. So those are on the municipal records. So the municipal records for the city of Milwaukee show all of the DNS code violations, right? So if the Department of Neighborhood Services or the City of Milwaukee is filing lawsuit against John Doe, the property owner, you can find out and pick that up very easily through the municipal court record. So there is a state or the civil criminal or criminal felony or small claims. And then there's also the municipality level. And so follow the two levels that you want to chase, but you've got to be a detective, right? And so imagine this. Bank of America files a foreclosure action on Jane Doe, right? So you figure that out by you seeing a CV case, right? CV 2021, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so they have just sequential numbers. You can see when they're filed. When you find that case, you then put it into the search records of the CCAP website, and you see everything you want to know. You see who the plaintiffs are. Who is the defendants? Are the defendants two people? Then the other part is you can also look to see, does the defendant, are there 50 defendants? That means that this person has multiple liens against them that are attached to the property. So what that means is the chances of you buying that property as a deed in lieu or buying them out is going to be very difficult of a deal before it goes to foreclosure. So you're going to want to watch it on the foreclosure side, because if they have a lot of judgments, you're never going to be able to buy it. If there are no judgments and it's just Jane Doe and Mary Doe, or John Doe and Mary Doe, John and Jane Doe, whatever they call them these days, John and Jane are there, right? And there's no other defendants, you've got a great chance at a pre-foreclosure. Okay, and then the other thing to consider are sheriff sales. So the daily report, so the sheriff sale is the final action of the foreclosure, right? It's when the sheriff is selling the property. So the judge, just so you understand how foreclosure works, the judge takes the foreclosure, the judgment, and he then orders the sheriff to sell the property via a sale. And they got creative and called it the sheriff's sale. And so the deed that's conveyed is the sheriff's deed, right? So does that make sense? Yes, of course it does. So in the Daily Reporter, you will see the listing for all of the sheriff's sales. Okay? So if you follow the sheriff's sales, the next thing you have to do is it tells you in that sheriff's sale record, it tells you all of this amazingness, right? Here's what it tells you. Who is the attorney on record? So how many of you have called the attorney on record on a sheriff's sale and said, what is your opening bid? What do you know about the property? What can you tell me? Everybody? Everyone's hand should be up, right? You got to call these people, right? Remember, we're all people. We're all humans. You got to call the attorney. Because he's an attorney, he's still a person. The attorney who does foreclosures probably gets 100 calls a week about what's your opening bid. They have a process for that. If you call Kramer Maltoff and Hamas or Bass or Gray and Associates, these are the guys that are doing the foreclosure work. You got to call them.
But even before, in preliminary, when they post it, it has a judgment amount. So you at least have an idea of what the bank is
owed. But understand, you know what the bank is owed as a preliminary number. That doesn't mean the bank is going to bid that amount. So if they're owed $1 million and they want out, they might bid $1. Think about that.
They just want to get off their hands and
so
want it.
They bid $1, you're going to bid, yep, we got it, $2. You buy the house for $2 because they're not bidding again. They want out. So think about it. But we always have this conversation. How hard are you willing to work for $30,000? How hard? Hopefully hard. How hard are you going to work for $40,000? Hopefully hard. How hard are you going to work to make $1 million in real estate? Hopefully very hard. You can do it, right? It's possible, but it doesn't happen by just happening, right? You might chase around over the period of a year. You might chase around 100 deals and you might only get one. But if that one pays you $50,000, how hard are you willing to work for the $50,000? Ask yourself that over and over again. How hard are you willing to work for that $50,000?
Finding the deals, it takes time and energy. So specifically on sheriff sales, we did post a previous workshop to dive in deeper on that strategy. So you can reference our prior workshop material on our site.
Yep. And there is, so there is a sheriff sale workshop that Sarah's referencing. And if you have any other questions, let us know. Hold on. Do we have a drum roll or something? Hold on. No, you're going to, we have a professional drum roll. We've been working on this. Let's see if we can get it going. Oh, There we go. We don't have a professional drum roll. Okay. Anyway, sorry for the. Oh, there's some cash. Cash is. Can you let Michael in? So, guys, I want to introduce you to Tony. Tony, what mic are you?
One.
All right. So I want to introduce you to Tony. Tony is a young entrepreneur. You can find Tony on Clubhouse for those of you who are looking for Clubhouse. Tony is a local investor, 21 years of age.
Yes, 21 still.
A proud high school dropout.
Proud high school dropout.
Okay. What else are you proud of?
A lot of things.
Okay. So Tony's a proud man. Let me tell you about Tony. Tony, we have financed some deals for Tony. He's a wholesaler. We financed some deals for Tony's buyers. And Tony then took his own initiative as a young 21-year-old to come and meet with me. And Tony and I have become friends since that time. And he's helped me in our business. And I've got great admiration and respect for Tony and his youthfulness of being a wholesaler. And Tony has a system. And if you follow Tony on one of the social media outlets that he can't stop posting on because he's 21 and thinks that's cool today, which it is. I like watching him. What I'll tell you is the guy likes to work, right? But he likes to work smart. He's an efficient operator. He likes to be smart. Look up Tony. It's Tonny. Somebody gave him 2 N's. He's special. So Tonny Romero, look him up on all of the social media that you follow. He'll share some wisdom with you over the period of time. But what we brought Tony here today to talk about is how do you source deals, right? So let me tell you a little bit about myself as an investor. I've been an investor for 20 years. I spent first 15 years of my investment career being Tony, except I never really sold my deals that I found. I developed them. I renovated them. I kept them as rentals. And now, as my life is busier, as I continue down the road, I still want deals, right? That adrenaline, the adrenaline that hits the brain to do deals still is very, very, very high. And so Tony, like other wholesalers, provide me with an opportunity to find deals. And so in exchange for Tony's deals, I pay them a fee called a wholesaling fee or an assignment fee or whatever acronym fee they've come up with today that is passing me by. So I've taken the liberty as a real estate investor to make sure that I know what I'm going to do by making a deal work, and I'm willing to pay a fee for that. So that's how I'm sourcing deals, and that's how you can source deals. You can buy from wholesalers. We were going to have Rebecca Knox in here talking about Captain Save a Home. She's a wholesaler. Tony's a wholesaler. There's 50 other wholesalers in Milwaukee. Everybody wants to be a wholesaler, right? But there are very few of them that are really good at what they do because they're not providing you with enough of opportunity, right? I could be a wholesaler tomorrow. I could find a list of potential sellers. I could ask them what they want for the property, and I can say, great, I'll pay it to you. I'll have 100 properties under contract tomorrow morning. The problem is, who am I selling them to? Where is my opportunity? Where is the spread? And so a good wholesaler understands that the ARV is here. I'm able to buy it here plus fee. Understand that fee is paid to them. And then I make the profit. I've got to go spend the rehab. I got to use my intuition to be the developer to get the property to its highest level. And so Tony joining us today. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
Let's flip to the next page. So what is a wholesale deal? So let me walk you through this for a minute. So Tony is in orange. Okay. Tony is all day, every day with his team of VAs and other people around the world are finding properties, right? So Tony goes and finds a property, or he gets his VA, his virtual assistant. This is new to me, another beautiful acronym, a virtual assistant. So Tony hooked me up with a virtual assistant out of the Philippines, and she's delightful. But so Tony has a script that he goes out and he finds properties, right? How he does that, that's his sauce, right? He's going to put some sugar in there, some other stuff in there. He's got a sauce. That's Tony's sauce. But Tony goes and he finds that property. He puts it under contract. Now what does Tony have to do? When you have the property under contract, what's the first thing you're doing?
I have to start promoting it to all the buyers to see who's interested in it.
So what Tony does is then he's marketing this to other real estate investors. And so Tony, on this one category right here, right, the market of the wholesale opportunity, how do you find me? How do you find your investors? How do you find people, right? What are or let me ask you a better question. How do the people that are joining us today get to you?
So there's many different ways. Obviously, just being proactive in the market. Social media is a strong platform to be
So
on.
if I find you on Instagram and say, hey, I'm a buyer, you would add me to your buyer pool?
Yeah. So people have called, messaged me on Instagram, Facebook from California, from other states and said, hey, I want to invest in Milwaukee. I currently invest in Milwaukee. It's just really any platform. Obviously, you can join real estate groups on Facebook. That's a big powerhouse. Craigslist. Sometimes we put out some reverse ads where we say we have a property, or maybe we do have a property and then you call about it. And then, maybe you're not interested in that one, but you just want to get put on our list. Websites as well. If you just search up, buy my house, Milwaukee, anybody that has a buying platform, investors don't have time to build platforms and use SEO. Those are all wholesalers. And if you go right onto their websites, most of them have a fill out sheet that you can fill out. Once somebody connects with us, usually I connect them with my head of dispo, Claudia.
So dispo is what? Disposition? Is that what you're sending that
Dispo
for?
is dispositions, which handles the buyer side of everything.
So think about that, guys. If you're an investor, Tony has a person that's selling houses. If you don't know Tony's person who's selling houses, how can you say you've done everything? All wholesalers, the wholesaler's customer is you, the investor, right? That's where you get paid, Tony. You don't get paid from the buy, you get paid from the wholesale. You get paid from the assignment fee.
Right.
So think about it like this, guys. I've paid as much as I've earned a wholesale fee as much as $75,000. What's the average fee? 5, 10, 15, 20?
Right now in Milwaukee, it's about 5 to 15K.
Okay. So Tony is finding a property and he's dispoing it. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Yes. So Tony's dispoing it for $5,000 to $15,000 fee, depending on what the ARV is and what he bought it for. If Tony's able to buy a $100,000 house for $10,000, he might be able to get $30,000. But he also, and Tony, what's the most you've earned on a fee?
$45,000.
So Tony's earned $45,000 by finding an opportunity and selling it to another investor. Okay. Good job, Tony. You should be proud of that one. No, I'm serious, because think about it, guys. So think about it like this. The wholesaler, so I'm the investor, right? I'm busy. All I want is the opportunity. So what he essentially is paying for it is not always relevant. It's what do you know the property's worth, right? Because if the property's really worth 100, Tony's going to tell me it's worth 110. I'm going to think it's worth 90, right? And it's probably worth 100 because that's what it's worth. And so you get into this game, but remember, guys, we need to find the opportunities, right? So you can just go pay retail, blah, blah, boring. You can find a guy like Tony and say, Tony, who's your dispo lady? How do I, or guy, I don't know who it is. How do I get to your disposition field? Because I want to buy properties. So if you all haven't found Tony on social media yet, go do that. Call Tony. Tony's always around. I called Tony this morning because unfortunately Rebecca Knox is not able to make it, and he's here. And when he got here, he was on the phone with somebody saying he's got to get a deal done now. And so the guy's working, he's hustling it, right? He is a hustler. He's a hustler of opportunity. If you're not as much of a hustler, but you want opportunity, then let him be your hustler. That's okay. He's entitled to a fee, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, depending on what he brings you.
He had to put marketing dollars.
Yeah, his engine doesn't work. He's spending money. But as he said, which is so fascinating, think about what he just said. Think about this. Tony just said that all real estate investors cannot create the SEO and the opportunity that wholesalers. So those are all wholesalers. Do you understand how tell us about it. How vast is the wholesale community in general in the United States?
What do you mean by vast?
So I get calls from wholesalers because they go and find that I'm a real estate investor. I get calls 100 times a day.
Right.
Hey, I'm John in California. I had one guy call me because there was a fire in one of my properties, supposedly, that I didn't know about. Right. So the guy called me. He's like, hey, I'm calling about the fire at your apartment. I'm like, sir, I do not know what you're talking about. He's like, no, there's a fire. Well, there was a fire. It was in the neighbor's garage that seems to be looking into my property, and that I got on his naughty list. Okay. So there are wholesalers that are chasing lists around.
Right.
I'm not asking you to tell me how you do it, Tony, but think about this question. How sophisticated of a business is your business?
Very.
So tell me about it. How many phone calls are you making a day as a company?
As a company, we're making about 10,000 a week right now.
Okay. Did you guys hear that?
OMG.
Wait, can you say that one more time? You said 1,000?
10,000.
10,000 calls a week?
Yeah.
Let me tell you about my time. I don't have time for 10,000 calls a week. I know you don't either. I don't even know how the hell you do it. Oh, I know how you do it. You use these VAs and you have a script and you have a whole process to get someone on the line, a live one, right?
Exactly.
So without diminishing the value of another business, the personal injury attorney business, right? We all know the people that are out there trying to get you when you unfortunately are suffering as a result of something. It's the same kind of business, right? You're out there doing a lot of advertising to get a few opportunities, right?
Yep.
So think about what he's doing. He's making 10,000 calls. That means right now, hold on, wait one more second. Okay, he just made 40 calls. His team is making 40 phone calls right now as we're sitting here talking to you. Amazing. What does that question say, Mike? I can't see it. We're going to give you Tony's contact information. Absolutely. Thank you, Chris. Yes, you can absolutely get Tony's. Is it Chris? I can't see that far. Sorry. And then when you make the calls and you get the opportunities, you have a dispo person. What is the dispo person? Let's get to the next page. So what is the dispo person doing?
So the dispositions.
Well, let me ask you a better question. How do I become a good buyer for you?
So it's all about seriousness, right? So just being a buyer, right? Educate yourself in terms of like what you want first, right?
So I'm a new buyer. I don't know anything. Hey, Tony, I want to buy a house.
Yeah. So, I mean, you could always just literally call us and we can talk about it. We can educate you a little bit more.
So what are you educating me on? Tell me. So I want to be a good buyer, Tony. Tony, I've got aspirations to own 100 properties, but let's just say I want to buy 5 this year from you. How do we get that done? How do I get on your list? How do I become a good buyer for you?
Well, the seriousness is the most important piece, right?
So elaborate on the seriousness, because these people that are sitting there on the other side of this are saying, I'm serious. I have a business card. I'm a real estate investor. I'm serious.
Yeah. So it's all about the cash, really. It's the main component of it.
So
just being
when you
ready.
say serious, you mean they're ready to close on a real estate transaction.
Exactly. If I send it out to them and they're interested, they're going to decide pretty quickly on that.
So guys, think about this. So here's what Tony does. Tony puts a property under contract. He uses probably some standard form to get some buyer to agree to sell the property. He then is going to send you a form that says you're willing to put down X amount of dollars today, and in 30 days or in 20 days or whatever, Tony has a contractual obligation that he's assigning to you. You're going to close on it.
Right.
So let me ask you a question. What happens if I don't show up to close?
So if you don't show up to closing, so once you decide on a property and you say, all right, I want this one,
yep,
then we usually ask for earnest money.
Correct. Does everyone understand what earnest money is? So that is a good faith deposit towards the credit of the purchase of the property that you're buying. Okay. So earnest money, people understand it. People probably read the word 100 times. That's what it means in this scenario.
Right. So you're going to be putting down earnest money. Usually if the purchase price of the property is under 100,000, we're only asking for $2,500. If the purchase price is over 100,000, of the entire transaction, then we're asking for about $5,000.
Okay. So you hear that, buyers? $2,500, $5,000 in cash, ready to go immediately in cashier's check, made payable right now, immediately get it ready. Okay. Because Tony sends it out to 10 people. One guy says, I'm ready to go. Send me the contract. I have my $2,500 to your office in 1 hour. We have a deal.
Yep. Pretty much.
We got a deal. But what if you say, let me go. I don't have the 2,500 right now. And I'm not 100% certain. Tony's next step is goodbye.
Yeah. So we're going to keep marketing until that earnest money is in my hand. And we've done it the other way around. In the beginning, we've been in business for a while now. So towards the beginning, we weren't doing that. And a lot of deals were falling through, or,
So you hear what he's saying?
Commit.
Think about this, guys. Tony's saying, if you're ready to act, you got to put up and you got to do it quick, right? You got to get to Tony right away, because Tony has a deal. I've got a deal. And let me kind of explain something to you. Tony has an opportunity where Tony can give me the opportunity to make $100,000. Right?
Right.
How fast are you going to hustle over there to make $100,000? The answer is pretty damn fast.
I'm writing out that earnest money check.
Right now, you're on your way. You're going to do it. But if he's going, Tony's just said he doesn't necessarily care who buys the property. Do you?
No, to be honest, if you're
Yeah,
pretty serious,
what do you
buyer,
care?
Yeah. I mean,
If it's John or Paul or Steve, it doesn't matter, right? You don't care who it is,
no, as long as they're serious, they can close on it. It doesn't really matter.
right?
So do you end up with a preferred buyers list after time?
Yeah, so Tony,
Seems a lot of
I
buyers.
showed up to the first closing. I did a good job. I performed. You made $10,000. I'm super happy. I got a duplex in West Dallas. I love it.
Yeah. So
So now I'm on the good buyer list.
pretty much. So that's the way to get on the good buyers list. People ask us right away. Yeah, I'm a serious buyer. I buy yada yada.
How many people tell you that they're serious buyers and never show up?
A lot of people, but we have software that we can do our research on, so I can find out practically anything about them and how many properties they own within seconds.
Yeah, that's the frightening world of the internet, right? LexisNexis of the world's like tell you like how many do you really only have 10 toes or 11 toes or whatever, all the weird stuff they tell you. So, but Tony, let's focus on, so a lot of these people that are focused sitting here today are saying, you know something, I want to be a good buyer for you, right? I'm going to be your buyer. So the first time is they have to get there, show up, put the earnest money down, close.
Right.
Now, I mean, do they have credibility?
Yes. So obviously you're the guy that's serious at this point. You've closed on it. You've committed to your word. And then we put you on what we call a VIP buyers list. We have about
To join the VIP buyers list, the first action I have to do is perform.
pretty much.
So you have to be a dependable, responsible human, and you get on the good buyers list. So people say, how do I get to be a good buyer? Well, buy something. You know what I mean? If you go to the store, you don't get points at wherever. Where do they do all those points? Fleet Farm or Menards. You don't get like all the points by not buying something. You have to buy something, and then you get points, and then you get redemption. So with Tony, if you buy property from him, he's making some money. You're getting the opportunity, and now you're on the VIP buyer list.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you. So let me ask you a question. How do you do the opposite? How do I get on the no-nos? What's the no-nos, right?
So one big way, I like transparency. So if like there's some buyers that have buyers, right? You might have a friend that wants to buy, and you might want to make your fee in between because you're bringing.
So
him
you're saying there's like a wholesaler to a buyer?
Yeah. So that's
Okay.
I am totally understand if somebody wants to wholesale that deal out, but I do not like when they're not transparent about it. That's one big thing. It's like we've had buyers come up to us say, yeah, I'm going to buy it, and then it's not necessarily them, so I don't get their word. I don't care if you're going to make some money on the deal. I personally, it beats me. I still make. I still make my
you still earn your fee. You don't care.
Yeah,
You've agreed to the price. You just want transparency. So I think that's probably a good general business rule. You know what I mean? I'd say the general business rule is, be transparent, be a good business person. If you're a good business person, if you're honest and trustworthy, that radiates right through to whoever you're doing business with. So that's good. Tony, so what happens in a scenario like this? Hold on a second. I got a thought coming in from Mike. I can hear him.
Think it.
There is a question.
We can't hear you. What's the question?
They want to know if there's a resource for learning about the assignment of wholesale deals, something they can read.
Yeah. So stay away from the internet. Tony, would you be okay if we got one of your assignment documents?
Sure, let's do it. Just
You
because it's
can-
you.
Okay.
You
So
can get an attorney. I'd always have an attorney review.
Listen, as soon as you get attorneys involved, you lose the deal. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but there's 50 other people that are buying these deals. So somebody said, so let me do this. Tony's going to give us, which we're going to give to you, what Tony's assignment document looks like, right? This isn't a proprietary document. This is a document that says Tony's company agrees to assign it to your company for a fee of X and a closing date. And I have one from my deals I've done, and I'll share those with you as well. And we're going to talk about my deal in 1 minute. But the reason I say it is, educate yourself. Read these documents. They're in plain English. That's it. But what happens, Tony? So here's what happens, or tell me what happens. You have this moment, right? You bought a house from a guy so you bought a house right now, sitting here today, right now, on 61st and North Avenue. You haven't been to the property. So I want to go see it. I like it. You're selling it to me for $85,000. You're making $15,000. I think it's worth $200,000. It needs work, right?
Yeah.
And we understand that. I get there because you get me into the property, and there's a massive foundation problem. The representation from the seller to you to back to me is not 100%, right? Here's where buyers get bogged down. Factor in your repairs and then put some contingency in. Okay, guys, because it's going to happen. The moment you go back to Tony and say, Tony, I agreed to pay you 85. I can only pay you 80. Tony's like, goodbye. Oh, and by the way, don't call me back because he is not in that business. And you can't be in that business either. What you have to be in the business is of protecting yourself through mitigation of contingencies, right? When we build a building, we put in contingencies, right? So when it's called construction contingencies. We have owner's contingency and contractor contingencies because stuff happens. So be smart about what you're doing, right? If you're not comfortable with the risk profile of buying a wholesale house, find a different risk profile of buying, right? There's other opportunities. Buy on MLS where you can tour with your mom and your dad and your contractors and everyone else. You can all.
Same with online auctions. Some are listed and you can get through, some you
Some you
can't.
can't. I bought the hotel sight unseen, converted it to apartments. It was the biggest home run I've had all my career so far.
That might be scary for a newer investor.
It's scary, but think about it. It's not that scary. Everything is fixable in a house. Everything. It just takes dollars. Dollars make less profit. But if you go through the education process, it's not all bad. So Tony, so let's talk about this a little bit further. Do we have another question that just came in? We got 8 minutes. 8 minutes. Okay. Don't they say it in hockey? 8 minutes. So Tony, talk about you. So when I get on the good buyer list, do you ever go or find a house and you're like, I know the buyer as I'm buying it?
Yeah. So actually it happens the majority of our time, especially right now. We have a lot of good buyers. Last week we got a call on Friday. This one company called us and said, hey, we'll buy all 5 that you have right now at asking price, sight unseen, send us the contract right now. So a lot of times we get an idea of who's buying what in what areas. A lot of these, anybody that's on here that may be a buyer that's buying on a regular basis. And if we've done business with you, we're already going to a property in a specific zip code. And we're like, okay, we know John's going to buy this property.
So I want to buy in Bayview and I want to buy in Bayview. Of your 10,000 calls, you can make 3% of them go into Bayview because you're going to sell that to me.
Exactly.
Or you want to buy in South Milwaukee, or you want to buy on the north side or the south side or the east side. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. You know your buyers before you go buy a property.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So think about that, guys. If you're not talking to the wholesalers and because Tony's opportunities, you never know when they're going to come. He's making 10,000 calls a week. I used to send out 10,000 letters a month. I thought I was doing a good job. Wow. 2003, 2023. Holy smokes.
How more confident would you feel if you already had your end buyer in place or in mind, like right at the,
yeah, right. Tony feels good about it. Tony's like, I'm going to make money. But he also wants to turn the properties, right? Because if he can buy 10 of them in that zip code and make $6,000 or $8,000 versus doing one and make 15, he's happy because you're going to buy all of them. Yeah. So what a great opportunity for you as an investor.
Yeah. Just like you said, talk to the wholesalers. The first thing about getting out there is just talk to people on a regular basis, because if I'm already going to a property in 53218, I have at least 10 solid buyers, and we have about 1,600 buyers right now on our list.
1,600. You guys hear that?
We add about 100 a week right now.
1,600 buyers are adding 100 a week.
And if I go to 53218, I already have 10 buyers in mind because we're speaking to them on a regular basis. So why do I need to text it out to 1,600 and cause chaos when I could just send it to 10 and somebody will buy it on that list?
Yeah, but so guys, sourcing deals, be good at what you do. Get to Tony. Tony eats and drinks. And if you don't know that, look on his Instagram page. He sits at these bars and drinks fine wine with beautiful ladies. I don't know what you're doing all day long. Get to work, Tony. Let me go to the next one. Let's go to the next slide. So let me tell you this deal. So this is a deal that I did. I bought this from a wholesaler. Okay. So I bought this deal. This was a deal on Cullen Court in Brookfield. So a wholesaler had the property under contract for $215,000. Okay. He sold it to me, and on an assignment fee, I'll show you the attachment. I paid him $20,000. I then put in $163,000 in rehab costs, private lending money, and dollars I had to expend towards the holding of this property. We sold it for $480,000, and we made $82,000 in profit. By show of whatever you want to do where you're sitting right now, who wants to buy Cullen Deal 100 more times this year? Me. And am I happy to pay Tony or any wholesaler $20,000 a fee? Yes. I don't care.
This particular wholesaler too was not in our
Yeah,
area.
so this wholesaler is a guy out of Las Vegas who's buying properties in Milwaukee. So his engine is calling 10,000 people in Milwaukee. Like Tony's engine might be calling 10,000 people in Las Vegas. This guy's from Las Vegas.
So you might want to
And
know who your
let me
local
tell you one other
wholesalers are.
thing.
But
He also sold us another rehab just recently down in Cudahy. And we paid him $27,000 fee. So I've done 2 houses with this wholesaler. When the third one comes, who do you think he's calling?
you.
Not you, me. But why is it not you? That's what I ask you. Why are you not out there? Right? And so Tony just said to us some disturbing, troubling problems, right? Here they are. He's got 1,600 buyers. That bothers me. He's got 100 more he's adding every week. That bothers me. It bothers me as an investor. It just shows me that I got to get to Tony, right? I got to have Tony on my instant chat or text messaging. Tony, I need a house. Tell him that every day. Wake up and text Tony, I need a property every day. He'll tell you to stop texting him, maybe. Who cares? Tony's a likable guy. He's 21. He's looking for friends. Oh, we're friends.
We're definitely friends.
Okay, see that? Tony's my
Aw.
buddy. My point to tell you that is get in front of these people, guys. The squeaky wheel gets the oil. Tony does not care who he sells the property to. He doesn't. Tony is the orange. Tony wants his wholesale fee. So what does it matter if he sells it to me or to you or to you or to you? It doesn't matter. Or to you. But if you're a dependable, reliable, responsible investor who can show Tony that he can get to his fee, Tony's happy, right? Tony's happy. He'll even send the check of his assignment fee across the internet, on Instagram, on his story that day.
Absolutely.
That's how famous you get, right?
Yeah, we'll post it all over the place.
See? Amazing. So, guys, any questions? I know we're running out of time here. We've got 2 minutes. What is the question?
No, how do they
Can
find?
you speak in there?
I don't think so.
Okay, go ahead. Just stop.
How do they find wholesalers?
How do you find wholesalers? The internet. Right?
Networking.
Networking
local Real
events.
estate
You
investors
just found Tony
associations.
by joining this seminar, right? Or workshop. I hate the word seminar, right?
Absolutely.
But you just found him. Here he is. Tony, listen, I am specifically looking for duplexes in West Dallas. I promise you, Tony's going to go call West Dallas tomorrow and get some stuff done. He's going to go start making calls. Let him do his job. Buy his duplexes in West Dallas. Great. Be a dependable buyer. How do you find wholesalers is by buying properties. Tony's looking for you while you're looking for him. He's looking, right? Tony is looking. He is out there finding cash buyers and adding them to his list every single week, 100 a week. There's a lot of real estate changing hands. So how do you figure it out? Whatever you're doing, get into the networks, get into the REO real estate chat groups that are on Facebook, get onto the Craigslist, whatevers that are out there, get into the world, start talking. There is on Facebook, there is a beautiful real estate group that Rebecca Knox runs. She does a great job. There's opportunities in there 10 times a day. I see them 10 times a day. Duplex over here, opportunity here. Sometimes there's the same duplex over there. So, you know what I mean? You got to just siphon through what's going on. But get out there. Be a great networker. Here's a couple other things to think about. There's a few of our other tips for you guys, and then we're going to send you off in the world to go get your deal. I hope I can hear from you, please, about your opportunity. Think outside the box. Bird dogs driving for dollars. I used to drive for dollars every single day. Drive down the neighborhood. You see grass that's growing. You see trash that's mounting up. You see the house that looks vacant. Opportunity. I used to send 10,000 direct mailers out every month. Bandit signs. I'm not a big fan of them because they pollute the world, but they're out there. Car signs. I buy houses on my car. If you buy one house off of your magnet that says I buy houses because you pulled into the Walmart parking lot and Johnny wants to sell his house to you, you just made yourself money. Easy. Connect with networks, local real estate groups, estate attorneys. How many estate attorneys know your name? If they all do not, you're not doing your job. How many landlords know your names? Have you talked to the neighbors? Lead generation services, social media, title agents, lenders. Oh my God. If you're not using this list to go find people, you're not doing yourself. We're all of you. Oh, there you go. Sorry.
Can I add something? real
Yeah,
quick?
please.
So if you guys, I'll tell you what, if you guys do any of the following, obviously you guys want to get out there. I'm guessing there's some newer investors in here. Definitely try these tactics out. They work. We use them on a regular basis. We have a lot deeper software that we use. We do some crazy stuff that if I dropped it right here, it'd be a long conversation and you guys would be spooked at how much access I have to everybody's information. But if you guys do come across a deal, let's say somebody calls you off of a car sign, they say, hey, look, I want to sell you my house, but it's not your criteria. You guys know where to find me. You guys know my name. Text it to me. We'll work it out. We'll sell that property. I kid you not, in 24 hours or less. And we'll make sure that, you get paid on that, the wholesale fee. Probably, we'll do a 50-50 deal and you'll get your check.
Tony's
fast.
making deals already. What about my cut? I get 10%.
We'll give 10% on my side to
Okay,
Scott,
thank
and then
you.
the rest goes to my.
Tiffany, who's a great referral source, just posted her website link as well on here.
Fair Deal Home Buyer.
Yeah, they're great. They're great. They send out a lot of great
Follow
properties.
these people, guys. You're here, you're motivated, you're networking. Follow and talk to people. People do business with people. Everybody has their place in life in terms of what they do. Let Tony be the wholesaler. I don't want to wholesale. I don't want to go drive for dollars. I just want to buy the house and make the money. I'm interested in the 82,000. He's interested in the 10 different times.
Tiffany's on our good list too. She's a buyer, so send her deals if you get any too.
There you go. So thank you guys. Listen, we're out of time. I want to just tell you two things. I'm going to be sure that we're going to send all of this to everybody in an email. Tiffany, if you can give us your permission, I'd like to add your website to this so that we can send this out to the group as well when we disseminate it. I see you're nodding your head there, so I'm going to get it out to them. So thank you. Tony, we'll get your website and your contact information. Guys, for being here, that's step one. Or maybe it's step 50. Who knows? We're all in different places here, right? The point of me doing this and us being here as a community is that we all want to be successful. I commend everyone for being here. I thank you all for being here. If anybody needs to reach us, we're on the corner of 9th and we're on 9th Street between Juneau and Highland. Come on down, talk to us. Sarah, myself, anybody in our team, we welcome you. And we thank you so much for being here. Take care and enjoy your summers because it's nice out, and go have a great day. Thanks everyone for being here.
Happy investing.
Yep. Happy investing. Take care, guys. Thank you.
Best of luck, guy. Best of luck.
Thank you. Thanks, Tony. Thanks, Tony, for being here.